In this review of the week's news, South Shore residents call for pier fishing to be banned, the refugee quota is increased, what will it mean for Canterbury, and a celebration for a royal fan. This is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Residents are demanding urgent action from the council to ban fishing off the New Brighton pier, with one city councillor agreeing, saying something needs to be done. Fishing off the city's pier, some are not fans of the recreational venture.
Fishing and people walking on the pier are not a good mix.
A local residents association is calling for a complete ban from dropping lines and nets from the structure, wanting those to pack their gear and leave.
They're taking up space that isn't allocated for fishing. They're leaving a disgusting mess, gutting fish, leaving blood, scales everywhere. People asked to move are being abused, so people are having a pretty tough time, and so they don't want to walk on the pier. So we think it's time to ban fishing from the pier.
The councillor from the east says something needs to change.
It's a mess, people are becoming upset, so we just need to take action and sort it out.
It's being discussed at a community board meeting after more and more fishers crowd the end of the pier, causing issues for the local residents.
The pier was intended to be a place for all, including for fishing. That's now snowballed. We've got other considerations from various parts of the community, different cultures using the pier, and I think there's a lot of confusion all round.
If the end of the pier did become a no-go zone for fishing, Councillor Livingston says this may cause other issues down the track, with fishers taking advantage of other areas. Further restrictions could be lined up.
It could be that we have certain times, so we say, maybe only during the week, but definitely not weekends or certain times of the year.
Whatever compromise, I guess, works, but the way that we see will work is fishing is banned. We find elsewhere for people to fish, maybe investigate putting in a second tier for fishing from the pier, so there's a clear separation.
But it may not be all bad news.
There are plenty of other places to fish. I've seen them out in my personal time in my kayak. There are plenty of places to fish.
It will only be a matter of time before the council may draw a line in the sand. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Some of the skate park plans are soldiering on despite one of the major funders pulling out. But as far as the council is concerned, the positives outweigh the negatives.
The council are still looking to give the go-ahead for a skate park in Sumner, in spite of having no financial backers.
Look, it's not on again per se. What we're doing is trying to find a site where it could be. This has been in the pipeline since about 2000, when it started being talked about. In 2004, we went through a process of trying to identify a site. We looked at about 15 sites, we got down to 6, we then got down to Barnett Park. There were a lot of objections to Barnett Park, and then we had these earthquakes that got in the middle of all of that, and it all stopped again. So we're back in another process now. The site's been identified partly through the Sumner master planning process that we did with the community, and then when the Levi's team made their offer, it just prompted a real look at that again. We then went through a big consultation process with the community out there, and 83% came in saying, yep, we really want it and we think that's a great place for it.
They will attempt to find other funding resources, but Aitken says it's much too early to tell how they're going to achieve that.
What we want to do is get the site uncertainty out of the way. If this falls through, it falls through. If we can build on that site, I think then we'll have a look at how that might be funded. And the possibilities for that are many. There is a lot of community interest in it, so there may be funding from the community. Council or the community board may want to put some money in, and there may be other people who would like to contribute to getting this off the ground.
American clothing brand Levi's withdrew its $180,000 funding for the project last month after consent process for the skate park was stalled.
Look, it was a shame. They certainly came in with the very best of intentions. They wanted to make a difference. They wanted to put something new into the area, and they're particularly keen on going out to Sumner. And we'd identified this as a gap from our skateboarding policy. We have one, believe it or not, and also previous work we'd done with the master plan. So it was a coming together of a lot of good things, and clearly the younger group is their target audience as well. But they're constrained by their own systems, and they've been fantastic to deal with all the way through this. But in the end, despite being very flexible, the timeframes just didn't work for them.
And when it comes to the benefits the park will bring to the Sumner community, he says the positives outweigh the negatives.
Clearly there's an identified need for this in terms of recreation activity for younger people, and particularly in that area, and that's been identified for a long time. And this clearly provides that. It's in a good location, and it in terms of safety and usability, and it fits with the broader master planning for Sumner. So a lot of positives, but clearly for those people who live next to it, they've got some concerns, which I'm sure they're happy to talk to you about in terms of noise and where it is and things like that.
So when would we be likely to see a new skate park in Sumner?
Look, it could all be decided by Christmas, or it may be into the new year. Once the consent's in place, then it's really to go back to the community board and the community and have a talk about what we might do about funding. That might happen through next year's annual plan at council, if council wanted to put some money in, or it may be that the community want to get behind it themselves.
Public submissions concerning the skate park can be lodged through the council's Have a Say website, with submissions ending October 7th. And Aitken is pretty positive that the plans will go ahead.
And if there's a community will to make things happen, nothing can be stopped.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Some travellers retreated to more than their luggage at the Christchurch International Airport this week. A group from across the ditch surprised those with a pop-up performance. Acrobats and an airport?
Probably the first airport gig I've ever done, so that's cool.
The 7 members from the Gravity and Other Myths company are showcasing their acrobatic skills with a pop-up performance at the Christchurch International Airport today. Based in Australia, the group are touring the world and are now in Christchurch for the Arts Festival.
The travel is a big part of it. I just love travelling around and seeing new places, and also just having the opportunity just to work doing the thing you love doing. I get to work, go around playing my music and supporting an awesome acrobatics troupe.
It's fun to be in your body, it's fun to be hanging out with good mates, it's fun to be in airports doing random gigs on a Thursday morning, but you can't get this on a regular 9-to-5 job, so it's a whole lot of fun really.
A lot of preparation and practice goes into their routines to master the incredible moves.
This show's been going for nearly 2 years. Our training as a company has been together for 6 years, something like that. And then we've been training together for a period of time, probably even 10 years. So really, the whole lead up is probably 15 years worth of kind of training and dedication towards this point where we can hang out here in an airport and do it, on hard floor.
This is the first time they've performed in front of a busy international audience.
It's quite strange having, an audience that's not expecting to have a performance. So it's kind of cool. People were just like coming down the stairs there and just being like, oh wow, there's something happening.
Yeah, it'll give them something to talk
Totally
about today,
different.
won't it?
Yeah.
The moves look like they're death-defying, but they say it's all safe.
It's kind of like you get used to it. I think it's one of those things that it's just like with training it becomes, your focus goes somewhere else. So yeah, I guess it would hurt, someone standing on you, but you don't really think about it when it's happening.
But it doesn't stop here. After the festival, they get to prepare to go further south.
Yeah, we've got another 5 days here. Then we get to spend a week down at the ski fields, which we're really looking forward to.
Yeah. 4 weeks we head over to Canada, so we go to Vancouver. We have about a month in the States, and then a month in Sweden. And then we head down to Germany and Budapest and then Hong Kong and back home in January.
Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Still to come, we look back at the refugee announcement and what it means for Canterbury. Welcome back. Prime Minister John Key has agreed to allow more refugees into New Zealand, 750 more over the next 2.5 years. But what does this mean for Canterbury?
New Zealand will see 750 extra Syrian refugees in the next 2.5 years. 600 by the way of special emergency intake. The decision comes after the 4-year-old war in Syria has been labelled the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II. The war has caused more than 3.9 million people, including nearly 2 million children, to flee the country as refugees. The UN and governments in the region are asking for $5 billion, the largest humanitarian appeal for a single response in history. However, Jian Bashirati from the Canterbury Refugee Council says our country is not well equipped enough to take on such a huge influx of refugees.
These people, when they come into the country, they expect something else. And they come with different intentions. And I know people still in New Zealand who've been here for the past 14 to 15 years who are struggling in isolation, health issues, employment issues, education issues. So how could you advocate for something like increasing a quota when we can't actually help the people who are living in the country?
She says it's about quality, not quantity, and other countries are better equipped than New Zealand to handle the demand in resources.
That's why there is a certain number for each country to receive refugees. I have family members in Denmark and Canada, all over Europe. They're well equipped to look after refugees. Their situations and their systems are very different to New Zealand. It's in place, they know what to expect. Here in New Zealand, it's very wishy-washy. Okay, they have systems and policies in place that is based on overseas information. Overseas information, they have different education policies, they have different healthcare systems to New Zealand. So how can you apply that to a small group here?
Canterbury has been unable to take on new refugees post-earthquake due to the housing shortage, with the North Island being the new home for those coming in to New Zealand.
Majority are resettling in Auckland, Wellington and Hamilton and other areas, but Christchurch, they can't handle any refugees until 2016 or 17. One family will be coming here and they're Iraqi and they're not part of the quota, they're through family reunification as well.
Gordon Findlater, CTV News.
With the freedom camping bylaw submission date looming, the Christchurch City Council are urging the public to have their say. Chelsea Daniels reports.
The council is urging the people of Christchurch to have their say for the proposed freedom camping bylaw, with submissions closing at the end of the month.
There's been general support for council to manage and protect the environment, and also to protect the health and safety of campers as well. So yes, general support for managing the land.
And there's been a lot of public interest.
We've had about 35 people at the 3 drop-in sessions so far. We've got another one coming up this Saturday morning, actually, in North Brighton at the Beach Cafe, 9:30. If anyone in that area would like to turn up for that, there'll be staff there to answer any questions, help people, inform them about the bylaw and what the terms and conditions of the bylaw are. We've also got about 100 submissions in the system already, which is pretty good when we've still got 2 weeks to go on the consultation period. We're quite pleased with that response so far, and we do know that we've had about 150 requests for submission forms through the Akaroa Service Centre, so we're hoping to see a bit of a flood towards the end.
The decision to restrict where campers are allowed to park up has been an ongoing debate for years, with a reasonable peak in freedom camping as a result of the quakes.
There's probably a couple of reasons just at the moment. Partly it would be because we lost some of the backpacker facilities with the earthquakes. Of course that's changing now with the rebuild, but that rebuild is also bringing in a few more workers on working holiday visas, so some of them are also choosing to freedom camp.
The bylaw suggests banning freedom camping within the 4 avenues, in the main business areas of Littleton and Akaroa, and in the New Brighton North Ramp car park. Also in the parking area around the public slipway at Takamatua and along part of the foreshore at Waianui and French Farm. It also restricts freedom camping in residential areas of the city to be certified, self-sufficient vehicles, and limits their stay to 3 nights in one location in any 30-day period. Vehicles without onboard toilet facilities will be given a restricted number of areas to park through the bylaw for only short periods. And anyone that doesn't comply will be slapped with a $200 fine. Through the submission process, the boundaries of the bylaw can be changed and will likely be changed, according to Bryant.
Interestingly, it's really good. We've had a few joint submissions coming in from people actually suggesting alternative boundaries. So, they've said this is our local area, this is where we think would be a better place than what we're suggesting in the draft bylaw, so that's excellent.
Submissions from the community close September 21st, with a hearings panel reviewing the entries during next month.
Well, what's next is we analyse the submissions. The hearings panel sits, that's made up of elected members. They actually make the decision about what the final form of the bylaw will be. They make that recommendation to council, and And if council chooses to adopt the bylaw, we'd probably hope it would be in place January 2016.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
With the cost of living going up, one local celebrity chef is teaching locals how to cook affordable food. Getting set to teach Cantabs how to cook on a budget.
It's a spring extravaganza and I'm doing three really lovely dishes, spring lamb, spring salad and a really quick dessert. So it's going to be cool actually.
Jax Hamilton is preparing her showcase tonight, educating locals how to cook easy.
Food doesn't have to be expensive, but it can always be delicious. So I think if you're cooking food that's seasonal, that's going to be affordable, it's going to be delicious, it's going to be, eating it when it's supposed to be eaten. And I don't believe you should spend hours in the kitchen. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'll be showing people how to create really beautiful dishes that they can afford, from just the local supermarket and not spend a lot of time in the kitchen because they've got other things to do.
Hamilton, who's known from the TV show MasterChef New Zealand, is taking her cooking expertise to the Palm shopping mall, wanting to prove a change of lifestyle can help everyday meal struggles.
They're life rich and they're time poor. I think that's what happens because everyone works in the family, kids are busy. And I think people just feel like cooking takes a long time when it doesn't. So, that's what I'm there for. Hints, tips and easy ways to make things all wonderful, but not spend ages in the kitchen.
Saying the cost of food shouldn't put people off.
Everything kind of goes up. And unfortunately, I am finding that, with people's budgets, the first thing that gets affected is the food. It is the food. So you've got to find different ways to store food. You've got to find different ways to buy food because without it, we need it.
Hamilton lives a busy life, travelling back and forth from her home base in Christchurch to Auckland, sharing her foodie knowledge.
Kaikoura Sea Fest, I'm doing the Palms, I've still got 2 books out, so, it's a busy time for me, it's great, keeps me out of trouble.
But for now, she wants to share her tips with Canterbury at her cooking course tonight. Jarrah McCulloch, CTV News. Still to come, a local composer heads overseas. Welcome back. He's considered one of the best conductors in the business, but now Luke De Soma has his eyes set on the West End in London, taking on his next international adventure. He's packing his bags and heading overseas.
Off to London to see what the next phase of work and life has in store. I've never been to the UK before, I've never been to Europe, so it's time for an adventure and time to see what I can get up to over there.
Luke has been back in the Garden City for the past 5 years as a freelancer, working on a number of projects to keep him busy.
I've been really lucky. I've worked with the Court Theatre and the Christchurch Symphony Orchestra and Showbiz Christchurch. I'm doing a Spamrod at the moment and had my musical in the Arts Festival and worked with lots of orchestras and choirs and things, and it's been a great time, but it's time to do something else and time to, be a little fish in a big pond again. There are times when it's been a wee bit slow and you just kind of have to. That's part of being a freelancer. It's busy when it's busy, sometimes it's slow. Sometimes, I'm eating 2-minute noodles and not really going out much. But that's the nature of being a freelance artist.
There's no stopping him. He's not long finished up with the Christchurch Arts Festival, and there's only a few shows left for the Monty Python production, music director for Spamalot.
Audiences are really enjoying it. Theatre Royal, Silly Dance Girls, Coconuts, a great time. 4 more shows Thursday, Friday, then 2 shows on Saturday.
But now he's getting set for his UK adventure, something he's been planning for a while.
Part of the appeal of London is to kind of breathe a little bit and take a bit of a holiday when I get there, but I've been really busy in Christchurch, but it's also a cool opportunity for me to see what else is out there, and it's not going to be a bad thing to kind of chill out for a bit and do some sightseeing, and hopefully it turns into work and having a career in the UK at some point.
De Soma completed his Master of Fine Arts degree in New York. He also holds a Bachelor of Music from the University of Canterbury and has a first-class honours from the New Zealand School of Music.
And I feel really lucky that I get to work with everyone from like the best professionals in the country through to high school kids and choirs and orchestras and stuff, and that's really exciting. I love seeing people grow. I love seeing what music can do for people, whether it be kids who come to my summer school or kids in a choir who find confidence through singing or confidence through playing music, right through to the thrill of having my own music performed by amazing musicians and actors.
But never fear, he has plans in place to be back on our shores over the next 2 years.
I'd like to be kind of working in the West End. I don't know what that looks like. If I'm a coffee gopher or an assistant to somebody, that's okay. I just want to work with the best people I can. And hopefully it turns into some work conducting or writing musicals in the UK, pursue that scene. But I'll see how it goes.
His main focus is to finish up his current performance schedule before he jets off on Tuesday. Jarrah McCulloch, CTV News. The Queen has become the longest reigning British monarch in history. So Gordon Finlater went on a hunt to find a royalist here in Christchurch.
At 89, Queen Elizabeth is already the longest living British monarch in history. And now, once 5:30 p.m. on the 9th of September clicks over in the UK, she will overtake Queen Victoria's mark of 63 years and 216 days on the throne. Now, I'm not much of a royalist myself, so to get a better idea on what this all means, I paid a visit to one of the Queen's biggest fans who lives right here in Christchurch. Right, I'm outside the house of Elizabeth Clement, who, as I understand, is a big royalist and should have a big collection of memorabilia from the monarch over the years. So let's go inside and see what we can find. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good,
Now,
yes.
I understand that you have a big collection of memorabilia and that you're a massive royalist.
Oh, yes,
All right.
definitely.
Let's go and see what you can show us.
Right, come on in.
Clement has been collecting memorabilia from the royal family since she was a young girl. She's even managed to collect some items of importance from royal visits to New Zealand.
The Queen came out in 1953. We lived in New Plymouth and all the school children lined up in Pukekura Park, and this is my wee badge I had, and every child that went was given a medal like this. And I have a very good friend, Judith, who's still got hers. We were there together. Also, I had this very special brooch that Mr. and Mrs. Lawney gave me. Their son Andrew was the 16-year-old who was killed on Mount Egmont with the nurses. So that is very special, though we're all a very close family.
She's also made multiple trips to the UK, fulfilling her lifelong dream.
I was also in London for the Queen Mother's 100th birthday, so of course I saw the Queen then too, and the Queen Mother. I was right there in the front row in the mall, so that was goosebump material. This is the Diana Memorial scarf, which I'm wearing in the photo that was on the paper, and I bought it at Althorpe. So I've been to Diana's Memorial at Althorpe as well. So that's very special. I don't use it, it's too special.
So, after 63 years on the throne, does Clement think Queen Elizabeth has done well as a queen?
I think she's been amazing. She really has. You wouldn't get many people like that, would you? One thing I do remember is when it had it on TV when there was a big fire at Windsor Castle, and she was there helping. And other things, when you read back and what she did during the war with helping people, just, you can't imagine some other princesses doing that.
And while admitting that general interest in the royal family has diminished, she's predicting it to make a comeback.
I think particularly over Charles and Diana it changed things quite a bit, but I think William and Kate would have saved it all, don't you?
Gordon Finlater, CTV News.
And that is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a fantastic weekend.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.